Willie Jackson, what did you make of all that?
Oh, it's an interesting one in terms of how well the Māori Party's done, and you know, people talk about them selling out or doing well. I think if you're marking the Māori Party, you've got to give them a pass mark. They've done well in some areas. There's no doubt about that. You know, if it wasn't for Tariana, we wouldn't have had whānau ora. So there's some certain kaupapa where they've done really well. But they've let us down in a few areas. So it's easy to say they're sellouts, they're hopeless. The reality, it's a mixture, and they've supported and they've raised Māori consciousness really well. Sharple's going on about what's happening in the law system right now. That's what Māori want to hear. We want to hear that sort of thing all the time. The other side of it is, Hone talks about worries in terms of benefit cuts, worries in terms of GST. Foreshore and seabed, disappointed.
At the end of the day, Rawiri Taonui, this is a good endorsement, though, isn't it, of the Māori Party leadership?
Yes, it is, and I think there's one contrast in there, Shane, where the Māori Party has been losing some party votes and electoral votes and things like that. The endorsement here is quite the opposite. It's actually increasing. Earlier in the year. Another poll, not this program, only had 10% Māori backing foreshore and seabed legislation. Now, I think people are partly right that Māori have just moved on, but I also think that in the wake of the Northern by-election, the Māori Party has recovered and gone out to people a bit more, which incidentally was one of the criticisms that Hone Harawira made about him in his column that got him into trouble. But I think they've done a good recovery job. The other thing that's important here is the re-emergence of Don Brash has probably done the Māori Party a lot of favours. You know, 10 years ago, Tariana was quite a scary person to a lot of Pākehā, and this sort of second iteration of Don Brash has made both, I think, a lot of Māori and Pākehā voters look at the relationship between National and the Māori Party, and whether you agree with them on issue by issue or not, I think people see it as stable. And I think that's a big change, and it's doing them a lot of favours.
Maria Barge, yesterday, Peter Sharples, he launched his campaign for Tāmaki Makaurau. He said that they had done things a bit wrong over the past few months, especially their handling, if you like, of Hone Harawira's departure from the party. He said, you know, they'd done things a bit wrong. Our poll says, though, that actually they may have got it right.
Well, I think in terms of the question around the Marine and Coastal Area Bill, some of that is also about, as people have suggested, it fading from the memory. So I think that certainly gives some indication for the Māori Party campaign leading up to the election, whether they want to keep mentioning that issue or whether they want to leave it
The Māori Party, you're saying?
Māori Party, yeah.
What about Labour and Mana? Because that has been their strategy over the past few months, hasn't it? By criticising, attacking the Māori Party for A, sitting around the cabinet table, B, supporting the marine legislation.
I think this poll's suggesting that potentially voters aren't going to be as receptive to that as they once were.
I think too the question is, because everyone's having a crack because they're there with National, Shane, but the question we have to ask is, would Te Ao Māori be better off if they were right out? You see, they had an option when we at the last election, go with National or stay right out.
And you think they made the right move?
I recommended it. We were asked by Tariana, myself and John Tamahere for our recommendations. We recommended it. Mightn't have gone absolutely right, but are we in a better space? I think so. But, you know, we are disappointed with some areas, as Hone Harawira talks about. But whānau ora, that's what we talked about 10 years ago. Tamahere talked about it 10 years ago with Labour and couldn't get it through. So we're in a better space, we're in a better place, but the Māori Party has to listen to some of the concerns in terms of benefits, GST, foreshore and seabed. It's a hard place to be, and other parties in the past have found it just as hard. Alliance, New Zealand First, near impossible position. You have to negotiate your position right. It's tough territory for
Sounds
them.
like your allegiance with Mana has disappeared.
I've got allegiance. No, I have allegiance to both parties, Shane. I've been involved in both parties, and I support kaupapa Māori.
Can I just ask, can I go back to Sharples again, because it looks as though that their election strategy, he sort of unveiled some of it yesterday, around the fact that they're going to be at the cabinet table. If National leads the next government, they're going to be around that table. And it looks as though that's where his focus will be, the party's focus will be, Rawiri. Is that a good strategy?
Yeah, I think it's a good strategy, and the Māori Party's strength has always been to work with whatever major party forms a government for the benefit of Māori, whether it's a National or Labour on the other hand. And it's about balance. So people are saying, well, we didn't like foreshore and seabed, we didn't like GST and things like that, but we like whānau ora.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, when you step back, you have to say there's some good things in there. I mean, personally, I think the number one best thing the Māori Party did was in the agreement with John Key to remove the question about the future of the Māori seats from the referendum at the next election, because if that had been in there, and it would have been in there if there was no partnership with National, then the Māori seats could have been gone by 2014.
Well, that's National. Let's look at the other big party, and that's, of course, is Labour. So how did they fare? Here's what we asked about them.
Yes, indeed, the Labour Party. We asked if you thought traditional Māori voter support for Labour had dropped, and 71% said yes. We then asked if you thought Shane Jones, on our couch here today, should take over as leader of the party, and it was much closer. 46.7% said yes, 31% said no, and 22% didn't know.
Shane Jones, I know you've taken issue with some of our questions today. Do you like that one?
I'm reminded of what they used to say about JT and Winston. So every time you talk yourself up with leadership ambitions, you can rest assured there's a chainsaw behind you somewhere near your party cutting you as you speak. So I'll just tie-ho on that.
OK, Tariana Turia, outgoing Labour MP Mitariri Nui, said this week he criticised Phil Goff. And he said that he couldn't relate to Māori, and our polls indeed have showed that. And Labour needed a new leader. Your opinion of that take? Because you were in the party, obviously.
Well, first of all, I think they need a remarkable leader. They need a leader that can bind them together in their caucus, because I think that what we're seeing at the moment is that's not happening. So they definitely need to consider that, whether that should be before the election or preparing for the next election, going for the long term. I think probably that would be their best bet. 7 weeks out of an election, looking to replace the leader is not a good idea. It's happened in the past with them. You'll remember that they had Palmer, then they had Moore, then Helen in very short space of time. It's not a good time for them to be imploding. So I think they do need a remarkable leader. And
is that Shane Jones, do you think?
I think Shane Jones would make a remarkable leader. He's intelligent. He's got all the ability that a Labour caucus would need. He'd do far better if he was in a Māori party.
Is that an open invitation? Is that an open invitation to Mr Jones? Is that an open invitation? Are you going to take that up?
I hear occasionally on this Taringa, not on this Taringa. No, thank you, Tari, etc. But no, I'm in my waka. It's called Te Rōpūreipa.
Hone Harawira, what do you think? Could you work with a Labour Party led by Shane Jones?
First of all, just on the whole leadership thing in respect of Shane, I think that he's the most capable politician they have in both Māori and in English. Sadly, I don't think that they will want to make him the leader, because I know a lot of the gays don't like him. I know a lot of the women are pissed off with him because of the incident that he got involved in not so long ago. And also because I suspect that Labour is still inherently racist and don't particularly want to have a Māori at the leadership. However, when the day comes, what's about 2097, when Shane finally gets through all of that and becomes the leader, I'd be more than happy to work alongside him.
Ka pai, well, we'll leave it there because we do have some more results for you. And the next result will be around our Māori MPs, obviously. And I'll be talking with our analysts around that. Do we have those graphics? Oh, OK. Scotty's going to tell us all about those.
Yes, we do have the graphics. We asked, do you believe Hone Harawira can effectively lead the Mana Party? More than half said yes. We then asked which Māori MP best represents the view of Māori. And Peter Sharples topped the poll at 22%, followed by Tariana Turia with nearly 20% and Hone Harawira on 11%. The rest all came in under 4%. And as for who you preferred as Prime Minister of Aotearoa New Zealand, well, there was no contest really. John Key, 33%, with the next contender being Peter Sharples, way back on 7%.
OK, so we're back with our analysts. What do you think of those results? Well, let's start with you.
Oh, well, you know, Shane Jones should be the leader of the Labour Party. When I first interviewed him when he went to Parliament, he said he was Labour first and Māori second, so he'd be the perfect leader for the party, so I totally endorse that.
Are you surprised, though, with that result that we just saw around Shane Jones? He doesn't actually feature that highly, or that high, if you like, in the result...
In the Prime Ministerial results?
Well, in the results around the most effective MP, or the MP that most represents our voters?
It's always hard. It's always hard. Hone and Tariana and Pete have got an advantage on Shane because they're leaders of the party. But seriously with Shane, I'm like Hone and Tariana. I think he's got all the skills, no doubt about it. I think we need a Māori we need top Māori right across the spectrum. He'd be a great Labour Party leader, but unfortunately, it's exactly what Hone said, tainted. You got the gays, you got the women. You know, he knows. We all know he's in the wrong party, and he should join Mana or the Māori Party.
Rawiri, do you think he should be accepting that invitation from Tariana Turia this morning about, you know, going and working for a Māori Party?
Oh, I don't know. I think Shane should make up his own mind on that, Shane. Let me say this. You know, I think there are probably three Māori who could lead the Labour Party. One's Hone Heke, but he's unavailable. The other one's David Rankin, and then probably Shane. And David Rankin. And
you put David Rankin with Shane Jones.
Well, if you put David Rankin in the Labour Party, it would certainly move those neoliberals in a certain direction. But listen, the thing is Shane is really capable, and there are issues around him becoming the leader, you know, and they're real issues. If he doesn't become leader, then he's likely to be the first Māori Minister of Finance, and he'll do a really, really good job at that. You know, Winston was a treasurer, you know, other things.
OK, I want to
hang on. Now, if he becomes leader, then I would say that the next government after National, because they will win this election, the next government would likely be made up of a coalition of 3 or 4 parties, all led by Māori.
OK, Maria Barge, because I know you're shaking your head because you don't accept those results with Shane Jones.
No,
Tell us why.
I'm surprised that this question keeps coming up, and I think it's more of a reflection of the fact that Māori want to see a Māori leader of the Labour Party, and less about the particular person involved, and more about Gough and the fact that he's goofy and that everybody, you know, that he hasn't got a high popularity.
He doesn't resonate, does he?
No, but I think, you know, there are several other contenders that are well ahead of Shane in terms of the leadership.
You back my cousin Parekura, eh?
David Carter, Cunliffe and Andrew Little, I think, has a much stronger chance. But I think there are also these aspects that we're talking about in terms of a successful leader. You need that credibility. Often that's based around winning your own electorate, but of course for the Greens, you know, their leaders are list MPs. But it's also about having the numbers in your from your colleagues, and so that's something. The second one is you need to be squeaky clean. Infidelities, misuse of public money, those things are going to hinder your chances at being a leader.
You're talking about Shane Jones.
Yes.
But the other thing too, Muddy, is the Māori thing.
The vision, you need a vision and an action plan, I think, and to show that you're concerned with the common good, and I think that's important. And charisma. If you're not squeaky clean, then you need the charisma of Bill Clinton to be able to pull something off.
I have to go back to the couch shortly, but just very, very quickly, if we just focus on the 7 Māori seats, who's going to fare where and who's going to win what? Rawiri, quickly.
Labour to Taitonga, the Māori Party to hold all their other seats, Hone to win the North. 3 seats, Tāmaki, Waiariki and Taihawauru. Yes, and Hone to win the North. And I think there's, depending on what candidate is put forward from Mana in Tāmaki Makaurau, there's a looming battle there.
What about the seats that Labour currently hold? Ikarua and Hauraki Waikato?
Yes, they'll hold those.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Do you support that or agree?
I totally that, but I think we need to watch the East Coast seat. I think it's a seat to watch because Māori Party got a very good candidate there, but Mana's got an outstanding candidate down there, and he could Whai McClutchy, outstanding candidate.
Okay.
I think we need to watch that seat because Parekura is clearly not interested in the Labour Party at the moment.
Okay, thank you.